of Olympus, the podcast where we dive into the wildest, most dramatic, and sometimes just downright unbelievable stories from Greek mythology. And I'm Ariel Igao, your guide through all the gully gossip, legendary love stories, and of course, epic adventures. And if you're new here, welcome. You just joined a community of mythology fans who love hearing these stories told in a fun and modern way. Make sure you check out some of our past episodes because, trust me, the gods do have a lot of tea to spill. And so today, I do remember one thing. Last time, we talked about the story of Eros and Psyche. You know, their epic love story. And, let's do a quick recap from last time. So, last time we left Psyche standing in the shadows of her golden palace, clutching a lamp and a dagger. Her sisters had filled her head with fear, whispering that her mysterious husband might be a terrible serpent waiting to devour her. And yet, night after night, her unseen husband came to her with tenderness, with love, with a voice that filled her heart. Still, she had never seen his face. Now, curiosity burns hotter than any flame. Tonight, Psyche has made her choice. She will lift the lamp. She will look upon her husband's face, whether it reveals a monster or something else. And so now we return to the story. And as Psyche raises the lamp above the sleeping figure at her side, she clutched the bronze lamp harder than ever. It was hidden under her cloak, and her sisters' voices echoed in her mind. He could be a monster. He could devour you at any moment. Find out before it's too late. Psyche's heart pounded so loudly she feared it might wake her husband. For months she had only known his gentle voice, his arms around her in the dark, but never his face. At last, when his breathing grew deep with sleep, Psyche rose, side by step. No, not side by step. What is that? I meant step by step. She crept closer. She held the dagger in one hand, just in case the truth was more terrible than she could bear, and with the other she lifted the lamp. And there, revealed in the glow, was no serpent, no monster. It was Eros, the god of love himself. His wings, feathered in gold, were folded gently around his body. His curls gleamed brighter than firelight. His bow and quiver lay by the bed, silent proof of who he was. Psyche gasped, tears springing to her eyes. He was more beautiful than the dawn, more radiant than starlight. And this god, this immortal, had chosen her. But in her trembling awe, disaster struck. A single drop of hot oil slipped from the lamp. It fell, sizzling, onto Eros' bare shoulder. He awoke, his eyes blazing not with love, but with pain and betrayal. Psyche! Was my love not enough? Did you not trust me? Love cannot live when there's no faith. Psyche dropped the dagger. She fell to her knees, begging, pleading. But Eros shook his head, sorrow heavy in his gaze. You have destroyed us. Farewell. With a thunder of wings, he rose into the night sky, and as he vanished, the palace, her paradise, crumbled into dust. Psyche was left alone in darkness, weeping. All right, so let's take a very short a little things I want to say to you guys. So, thank you so much. We have just reached over 20 countries and 500 downloads. And I want to thank all of you for your support through everything that's been going on lately. And yeah, thank you. And so now we should probably get back to the story. Now, alone, the night air bit her skin, but it was nothing compared to the cold inside her chest. The golden palace that had sparkled around her was gone. The gardens, the fountains, the halls, all vanished like a dream dissolving with the dawn. Only darkness remained. Psyche stumbled across barren fields, her bare feet cut by stones. Her cries echoed into the emptiness. Psyche, pleading into the night, said, Eros, my love, forgive me. Come back to me. But the god of love did not answer. Day after day she wandered. She climbed mountains until her body shook with exhaustion. She crossed rivers until her dress hung heavy with water. She sought temples of every god she knew, kneeling at their altars with tears streaming down her face. At Demeter's temple she begged, Goddess of harvest, help me find my husband. But the goddess only pitied her and shook her head. At Hera's shrine she cried, Queen of heavens, show mercy! But Hera turned away, unwilling to challenge Aphrodite's wrath. Not one god dared to stand between Psyche and the vengeance of the goddess of love. And so, step by weary step, Psyche found herself at the very gates of Aphrodite's temple. The marble walls glowed pink as the sunrise. Perfumes of roses and incense filled the air. Statues of Aphrodite's beauty towered above Psyche, mocking her mortal frame. Psyche fell to her knees before the altar, her face streaked with dirt and tears. A desperate Psyche said, Great goddess, I am unworthy, but I beg you, let me prove my devotion. Let me earn my place beside your son, Eros. A shadow moved across the temple, and from the inner sanctum stepped Aphrodite herself, her beauty blinding, her smile sharp as a dagger. So, this is the mortal who thought she could steal my son's heart. Her laughter rang like silver bells, but there was no warmth in it. You dare crawl before me? You, a fragile little mortal, daring to call yourself the wife of the god of love. Psyche trembled but held her ground. I will do anything. Test me, punish me, destroy me. Only let me see him again. Aphrodite's eyes glowed with cruelty. Very well. If you want to prove yourself worthy of my son, you will begin with a task, an impossible task. With a wave of her hand, Aphrodite conjured before Psyche a mountain of seeds, wheat, barley, millet, lentils, poppy, every grain of the earth, piled higher than a temple. Sort them by dawn, every grain in its place. Fail, and you will never see Eros again. Psyche stared at the endless heap, her heart sinking. No human hands could finish such a task before sunrise, and yet her love left her no choice. The mountain of seeds towered above Psyche like a wall of fate, all mixed together in an endless heap. The pile stretched so high she could not see the top, spilling across the marble floor in a river of grain. Aphrodite's laughter rang like crystal bells again and again. By dawn, mortal, separate them all, each kind to its own pile. Let's see if you are even worthy of the god of love. When the goddess went away, Psyche was left alone in the vast temple hall. The setting sun painted the columns red, and the shadows crept across the floor. She sank to her knees before the heap of seeds. Her hands trembled as she scooped up a handful. They spilled through her fingers like sand. No matter how quickly she worked, the mountain did not shrink. It is hopeless. Even if I had 100 lifetimes, I can never finish. Eros, will I ever see you again? Hour after hour, she worked until her fingers bled, tears dropping onto the seeds. Midnight came. The moonlight poured through the temple windows, silver on the marble floor. Psyche's strength gave away, and she collapsed beside the heap. But then a movement stirred in the shadows. Tiny shapes marched across the floor. Ants, hundreds, thousands of ants, streamed into the temple like an army. Ants, they were whispering chorus, almost like a hush of wind, said, "For love, for love, for love, for love." Guided by some divine will, the ants swarmed the mountain of seeds. Their tiny legs carried each grain, separating them with perfect precision. Millet to millet, barley to barley, poppy to poppy, each kind placed in flawless order. By the time the first streak of dawn had touched the horizon, the impossible task was done. The mountain of seeds had vanished, replaced by neat piles, sorted more perfectly than any mortal hand could have managed. When Psyche awoke, she gasped at the sight. The task was complete. But before the relief could fill her chest, Aphrodite returned. "So, you finished. Clever little mortal. But do not think you have won my favor. There are more tasks ahead, harder tasks, deadlier tasks." And with a snap of her fingers, the goddess summoned Psyche's next ordeal. The dawn sun rose over Aphrodite's temple, painting the sky with fire. Aphrodite's voice cut like a blade through Psyche's heart. "Impressive, little mortal. Perhaps fortune has favored you. But let us see if fortune follows you still." She led Psyche to a valley far from the temple, where the river's banks glittered with reeds and the air shimmered with heat. And there, grazing in the tall grass, were rams, monstrous creatures, larger than bulls. Their horns curled like crowns of bone, their eyes burning red with fury. Their wool shone like molten gold, dazzling and dangerous. But these were no gentle creatures. They charged at each other with earth-shaking force, their horns splitting trees, their hooves tearing the soil. They gored anything that moved. "Go then, Psyche. Fetch me tufts of their golden fleece. Bring it to me, if you survive, that is," said a very smiling, very much wickedly of Aphrodite. And then the goddess vanished, leaving Psyche trembling on the river bank. The heat of the sun burned her skin, and the ram's furious cries echoed in her ears. How can I do this? If I step near them, they will tear me apart. The day dragged on, with the sun blazing overhead. Psyche crouched in the reeds, tears on her cheeks and her body shaking with fear. But then the reeds themselves seemed to stir. A voice, soft as flowing water, spoke from the river. Do not fear, child. Do not face the rams now, while the sun burns their fury. Wait. When the shadows lengthen, their rage will sleep. Then you may gather the fleece safely. Psyche lifted her head. As the day passed, the rams grew weary. One by one, they sank into the grass, their golden coats glimmering in the twilight. By the time the moon rose, Psyche carried a bundle of golden fleece in her arms. But Aphrodite, when she received it, only narrowed her eyes. So, again you succeed, but do not think this means you worthy at all. No, mortal. The next task will definitely break you. And, with a cruel smile, she sent Psyche to her third trial. No sooner had Psyche placed the golden fleece into Aphrodite's hands, the goddess's eyes blazed like fire. Twice you have cheated despair, but no mortal can complete what comes next. Bring me the water from the black river Styx itself, the river that coils at the roots of Olympus, that not even the gods dare to approach. Fail, and you will die a painful death, and you will never see my son again. With a snap of her fingers, Aphrodite vanished, leaving Psyche at the foot of jagged mountains. Aphrodite had already been gone, but Psyche stared at the waters of the Styx, cold, eternal, and poisonous to any mortal touch, the very oath water of the gods, binding even the Olympians, including Zeus and the Titans, when sworn upon. Psyche stared upward, clutching the crystal flask Aphrodite had given her. The waterfall roared like thunder, but its banks were unguarded. Serpents with emerald scales writhed among the rocks. No. Did you hear me correctly? Did I just say the banks were unguarded? No. The banks were very, very much guarded. Serpents with emerald scales writhed among the rocks, their tongues flickering like fire. Winged creatures perched above, their eyes blazing and their claws sharp as ever. They screeched warnings, ready to tear apart anything that drew near. How can I do this? This mountain is too steep, the river too wild, and the guardians too fierce. Oh gods, must I fail here? And as she wept, a shadow passed across the sun. Wings beat the air, vast and powerful. An eagle descended. Do not fear, child. I serve Zeus, the Lord of Thunder. He has seen your suffering and he sends me to aid you. And the eagle seized the flask in its talons and soared higher than Psyche's eyes could follow. Up it rose, past the cliffs, past the shrieking monsters, and past the mist of the Styx. The gardens hissed and screamed, but the eagle's wings cleaved the air like thunderbolts. With one sweep, it dipped into the roaring river. Black water, dark as night, filled the flask, swirling with power no mortal should ever hold. In moments, the eagle returned, placing the flask gently into Psyche's trembling hands. But even this triumph brought no peace, for when she returned, Aphrodite took the flask with narrowed eyes and cruel laughter. You succeed again. Ugh, let's see if you can succeed in death itself. With that, she sent Psyche to the greatest and the most perilous trial yet, a journey into the Underworld. Go, go, go! Well, I'm just cheering for Psyche, not Aphrodite. Make that clear. Yeah. So Psyche's heart literally just trembled when Aphrodite revealed her next task. If you want to prove yourself mortal, then go where few living souls dare. Descend into the realm of Hades himself. Bring me a box filled with beauty, Persephone's own gift. If you fail, the Underworld will claim you forever, if not myself. The command struck Psyche like lightning. This was no trial of strength. This was a journey into death itself. But a spirit, a kindly spirit, perhaps the voice of the earth itself, perhaps one of the unseen demons who pity mortals, said, Do not surrender, Psyche. There's a path still. Listen well. Carry barley cakes soaked in honey to appease Cerberus, the hound of Hades. Take 2 coins for Charon, the ferryman, and when you meet Persephone, bow low and accept her gift. But hear this warning. Do not open the box, whatever happens. Do not give in to its temptation. Psyche obeyed. She carried her offerings and set out. And soon she reached the doorway to the land of the dead. The darkness pressed in around her as she walked. The air grew thick, heavy with despair. And then Cerberus appeared. The 3-headed hound loomed, its eyes glowing like coals and its teeth snapping with hunger. Psyche's hand shook as she tossed the honeyed cakes. But Cerberus, distracted with a sweet offering, the beast let her pass. Then she reached the black waters, and Charon's boat rocked gently, his skeletal hands outstretched for payment. Suddenly, Psyche gave him the coins, and the boat carried her deeper into the shadows, and at last she reached the palace of Hades and Persephone. The queen of the dead awaited her, pale and regal, her crown gleaming like starlight in the dark. Mortal girl, I know why you have come. Take this box, filled with a portion of my beauty, and deliver it to Aphrodite. Psyche bowed low, thanked the queen, and began her return journey. But as Psyche walked, do you really think she would walk back? No, she took the ferry back. She passed the slumbering Cerberus, and until at last the light of a mortal world broke above her. But as Psyche walked, the box grew heavier. Doubt gnawed at her heart. If I open it just a little, perhaps I may take some of that beauty. Perhaps then Eros will love me again. Her hands trembled. Her heart raced. Against all warnings, against her own reason, Psyche lifted the lid. But inside was no beauty, only deathly sleep. Her body weakened. Eros. And then she collapsed, her breath stilled, her body as lifeless as stone. And that's where the most important ending happens. On the ground, Psyche lay still. Her chest did not rise. The deathly sleep clung to her like a shroud, a punishment for her final act of curiosity. For a moment, all seemed lost. But suddenly, from the heavens, Eros, the god of love, shimmered in the sun, and down he came to the woman he had loved. Psyche, my Psyche, why could you not trust me, and yet I cannot leave you to this fate? And then, with trembling hands, he brushed the sleep from her skin. He bent low, pressed his lip to hers, and like the first breath of spring, warmth returned to her body. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked up and saw him. Not a shadow in the dark, not a mystery, but Eros, himself bathed in light. You came back. I can never abandon you. You have suffered, you endured, and proven the strength of your heart. Even my mother cannot deny this. And he carried her into the sky, to the halls of Olympus. And there, before all the gods, Psyche fell to her knees. But it was not Aphrodite who spoke. It was Zeus. Enough trials, enough torment. This mortal has shown a soul worthy of eternity. Let her drink ambrosia, and let her be one of this. A golden cup was brought forth. Psyche drank the nectar of the gods, and in that moment her mortality melted away. She rose, radiant, immortal, and a goddess in her own right. From then on, she was worshipped as not as a fragile girl, but as the goddess of the soul. Her name, Psyche, meaning breath, spirit, and the very essence of life. And beside her stood Eros, no longer hidden in shadow, but hand in hand, his love eternal. Their union was celebrated all across Olympus, and their daughter, yes, they had a daughter, Hedone, joy, which meant joy, was born of their love. For through trials, betrayals, despair, Psyche had proven a truth that even the gods could not deny. That love, tested in fire and shadow, can triumph over all. And so the tales of Eros and Psyche comes to its end, not in tragedy, but in immortality. One of the only stories in Greek mythology that has even a happy ending. A mortal girl who braved the impossible, and a god who could not stop loving her. Their story reminds us that love is fragile, yes, but also unbreakable. Even in our darkest hours, it can carry us into the light. And that's it for today's episode of Tales of Olympus. And I'll see you next time with a tale you might not expect. And as always, my name is Ariel. I'm 10 years old. And I will see you next episode.